Hey, my name's Danny Ferrier, and today I'd love to talk to you about how to run one-to-one meetings. So I'm super curious, who is already running one-to-one meetings with their team members? I'd love for you to type in the comments below. And I'd also love to know from you, who would love to increase their team engagement? I know that it's a hot topic at the moment, so please comment below and let me know if you're wanting to increase your team's engagement, their levels of satisfaction, and also your bottom line to be able to create a higher turnover with the same amount of staff due to them engaging more. So why should you listen to me? My name is Danny Ferrier, and I used to be a mountain guide. And really interestingly, I would take people to the top of mountains and in that time understood on a profound level the difference in the way that we interpret life. And I'd take mainly Americans and Canadians on these 2-week trips around New Zealand. And sometimes we'd do multi-day overnight hikes. And sometimes we'd be on a hike that was 6 or 7 hours. And somebody would sit down on their backpack and they'd say, okay, I'm done. I just can't go anymore. And this was a wonderful opportunity for me to sit next to them and get super curious about what was going on in their mind. What were the perceived limits that they told themselves to not be able to carry on? And the reason why I love this topic so much is because they are just perceived limits. And us as leaders, we need to be the ones that are able to help them see that there is another way, that there is another level to them, that they can prevail with a different mindset and potentially some different tools. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'd love to share with you a model called the 6 core needs from Tony Robbins. And I don't know if you've heard of this model before. Type in the comments if you have. This model is an extremely insightful model because it helps us understand that past our basic needs of food, water, and shelter, we also have 4 needs of the personality. And those needs are certainty, uncertainty, significance, and connection. And there's 2 more other needs, and those are needs of the spirit. And those needs are growth and contribution. So when talking about one-to-one meetings, it's important to recognize that they're not only there because you want to help your team member. Yes, that's the primary objective, but they're there to help your team member grow their soul so that they feel more alive. And as a result of that, they will show up with gusto because they are being developed, because they are being loved, because they feel that they are contributing to something that is greater than themselves. And they have certainty that you are there to support them and a little bit of uncertainty when you give them a little bit of stretch feedback. So I trust that this message has been really important to help you understand that one-to-one meetings is part of our fundamental needs as humans. And there are so many companies not creating that environment for their team members. A recent Gallup study showed that team members that have one-to-one meetings with their direct report are 3 times more engaged than those that don't. 3 times. Just from 1 hour every quarter, the manager caring enough to create the space for their team member. So I wonder if the engagement in your company was to triple, what could be possible? What kind of results could you get? So the next part to this is that as humans, we are meaning-making machines. Life is a bunch of mutually exclusive ideas. You have an apple and you have a refrigerator. But we make it mean that the apple is cold in the refrigerator. Our minds create the meaning. And so what happens is our team members are also creating meanings about you, about the company, about themselves. And so you need to become what's called a linguistic sniper. Bow, bow. A linguistic sniper is a leader that is aware of disempowering language because you notice that this is how that person is constructing their world. And these perceived limits that they put on themselves, these barriers within their minds, are evident when they start to speak. For example, oh, I could never be a manager. I'm really bad at maths. So what's that person done? They've taken management and maths, which are completely different things, and they've made it mean that you have to be good at maths to be able to be a manager. So in our one-to-one conversations, we have an opportunity to challenge that thinking. We have an opportunity to help them see that there's another way and there's another level within them. And that level is them being able to step into their potential. And that means facing the fear. And as the leader, us saying to them, wonder if that didn't have to be true. I wonder if there was another way. And you're getting really curious and you're questioning your team member so that they don't stay in their limits, so that they don't stay in their current developmental stage. So, what do we have to do as leaders to have these one-to-one conversations? Well, we have to teach people how to care. We all grew up in completely different environments. I grew up in Thailand. And we cannot control how our team members come to us. Everybody is perceiving life differently, and everybody has had a different experience within their upbringing. And a lot of people are not taught to care. And I know that as a leader, as a business owner, there was a reason why you decided to step into that role. There was a reason why you wanted to make a difference and create that impact. Was because you wanted a better product? Was because you want to create or provide better service? Or because you wanted a better life for yourself? And so you decided to lean into the uncertainty. And because you're that leader within yourself, that means that you have the ability to help others on that same journey. And that makes you a really important person in somebody else's life because you are able to help them see that there is another way. Teach them to care. It also means that you need to continue growing within yourself as a leader. There's a beautiful quote that says, you are either green and growing or ripe and rotting. And ain't that the truth? We all get a bit weird when there's nothing going on, when we can't move towards something. We get a bit apathetic. And we used to hang out in communities and youth groups and churches, and we had this really supportive structure, this network of people that were challenging us and growing us. But now, as the business owner, you are that person for everyone. It's like having more children. You are the one who needs to help them to see their own potential because they can't see it in themselves, just like you would with your children. So step number one for creating these one-to-one conversations is to make sure that you have consistency and accountability. Because canceling these tells the person that you don't really care enough about them. And they can just happen once every quarter, every 90 days, having a 1-hour check-in with each of your team members, or with your management team, and then your management team does that with the people below them. So creating that consistency means you can have good notes from the previous conversation. It means that you can send them a little text message saying, hey, remember we talked about XYZ? Just want to check in with you about that. How's that going? You can pre-send these emails, the accountability check-in emails. Organize that. But it's a really important part of this is to make sure that you're consistent, because growth doesn't happen overnight. And they need to know that you're serious about supporting their development so that they can really kick into fifth gear. I had one client, for example, who couldn't do a 1 hour check-in every quarter because his team members were all over the place. And when we broke it down, I discovered that he was driving to the West Coast once a month with one of his installers. So he decided that once a month, that conversation in the car was going to be an intentional development conversation with that team member. And it helped them to create a bond. It helped that team member to feel that he was truly valued, and also to be really, truly heard, because it was amazing that the business owner was taking the time to get really curious about what was truly going on for his team member, help give him some stretch feedback so that he's got something to grow into, and then also be there to help and support him for any challenges that may come up within that conversation. Now, I do have a framework for this. It's called the critical alignment model, and I'll drop a comment in the link below of how you can get hold of that. So I'd love to be able to share that with you. So it's easy to learn the framework, but what's not easy is step number 2, is the amount of care and coaching questions that you can put into those conversations to become really effective. These are all intangible skills. It's fluffiness. It's going into a conversation with someone with an idea in your mind, and also knowing that anything can happen in those conversations. I had a client who owned a mussel farm in the Marlborough Sounds, and this incredible client is a true leader. And you can imagine the shortage of staff in the Marlborough Sounds, and people are complaining in Nelson. I get it. It's very hard. And the Marlborough Sounds is significantly harder to find good staff. So what happened is you'd have these really burly men just rock up, and they just wanted a job, any job. Just give me a job. I'll do that. And so pretty hard to create team culture, right? Pretty hard to see how he could continue to upskill these people when they just really didn't give a shit. Well, he started doing one-to-one conversations with each of his team members. Every month he would have a check-in with them. And what he realized was that it was never about the business at all. He realized that he was the instigator for those people's growth, and that filled him with gratitude. Those wonderful, burly, slightly confused men that didn't give a shit about life, they were starting to learn how to care because they had somebody be truly present to them, and somebody who did care about what their next step was. And it was a slow process. And we came up with this beautiful slogan that muscles is just the mechanism, because it was never about the business. It was about how those men were able to change their lives as a result of having those jobs. And as a massive bonus, they started to engage more and give a shit about their work, and productivity went through the roof. And that was only because somebody decided to care, that their leader, the business owner, took the time to nudge them, gently give them a different perspective of how to see something, And as a result of that, his business took off. So I trust that this is a really awesome message for you to understand the importance of one-to-one meetings. Obviously, I didn't go in depth today. So what I'd like to invite you to do, if you're interested, is have a one-to-one 60-minute strategy meeting with me where you can dive deep into what current challenges you are experiencing with your team members, and we can find a way for you to be able to engage them. And I can give you some feedback on who you are being as a leader so that you can make sure that you are effective within those conversations with a proven framework that has worked time and time again. I know that this is a big step for a lot of people, but there is definitely another level in you, and you only need to be a few steps ahead of your team members. And as long as you are learning and growing, you can help them learn and grow too. I'm Danny Ferrier. Thanks for listening.